Heat up your prepper pantry with something a little spicy. Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared. Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to share another shelf-stable meal in a bag. I also refer to these bags as emergency meal kits. The general concept is that each bag contains everything you need to make a complete meal, including any water that's needed. In an emergency, it's easy to grab a bag and know that you can cook up a complete meal quickly without searching around for ingredients. In an emergency, when you're stressed, even just coming up with an idea of what to cook can be difficult, but these bags have got you covered. It doesn't have to be a nationwide crisis. Sometimes just a personal emergency like a job loss or an illness can put you in need. I have a friend who had stocked her shelves with many of these meal kits, as well as meals in a jar for preparedness purposes. Then last winter, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and had to have a surgery that left her with limited use of her arms, among other things. She was housebound. She told me that these meals she had prepared ahead completely saved her. Without them, she wouldn't have been able to keep herself fed. That's what it's all about. You never know when something will arise, big or small, that will leave you in need of easy meals. So the meal in a bag that I'm putting together today is enchilada soup. Now, as usual, I have this bag labeled on the wide side as well as the narrow side. This one has the ingredients and instructions listed on the back of this card in this pocket. And this side is so that I can set it on a shelf like this and still read what's in the bag. The ingredients in this meal include a 4-ounce can of chopped green chilies, a regular sized can of petite diced tomatoes, regular sized can of black beans, a large can of chicken, a regular sized can of corn, a regular sized can of pinto beans, and a large can, this is a 28-ounce can of green enchilada sauce. Let me go ahead and show you how I put these things in the bag, and then we'll prepare the meal and see how easy it is. Now, I do like these bags because they do have this gusseted bottom with a sort of a thick paper insert that helps them keep their shape on the shelf and when you're carrying them around and transporting them. So I'm going to start by putting in the enchilada sauce. Then I'm going to put in the black beans and the pinto beans. I'm going to add the can of chicken, the can of diced green chilies, corn, and the tomatoes. Now this would be all ready to go on your shelf, but instead of putting it on my shelf, I am going to put it together and show you what this meal looks like when it's prepared. Now, typically when I prepare these meals for you guys, when I demonstrate them for you guys, I do use my Coleman butane burner because that's what I would do in a grid down emergency if I didn't have electricity. So I'm just demonstrating really how we would use these in an emergency. But today I'm going to be busy right up until supper time, so I'm going to actually put it in my crock pot. And this is also going to serve to demonstrate that these meals are good for more than just emergencies. We also like to have them to use just on really busy days when we don't have a plan for supper and we don't have a lot of time to prepare. We've got these meals, everything is all together, and they're quick to cook. So I'm going to put everything into my crock pot and I'm going to let this cook for the afternoon. Now this time, a lot of my cans have the pop top, which is really handy for these type of meals, but they don't all have the pop top. The chilies, for example, does not, so I need to make sure that I have a manual can opener, which should always be a part of your emergency supplies. Whether you use an electric can opener typically or not, you should definitely have a few manual ones on hand, which I do. Sometimes if I know I'm going to need one, I might throw one of the small military style can openers right into the bag with the meal, just in case. And just in case you have to grab this and go to a different location, or you're unable to find your manual can opener, or whatever the case may be, sometimes it's handy to have one right in here. I'm just going to start by emptying these cans right into the crock pot. The order does not really matter. I'm going to start with the tomatoes, the diced tomatoes. Next, I'm going to add the corn. I'm not going to drain this corn. I'm going to use the water right in our soup. It's going to become part of the broth. It's important not to waste any of the liquid in our canned goods if we can help it, especially during emergencies. I am going to pour a little bit of this liquid into this can of tomatoes just to get the last little bits of tomato out of here. I typically might do this with some water, but there's no water needed for this recipe. And just in case we didn't have water available, I'm just going to use the corn liquid. And go ahead and put the corn in the pot. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add the chicken. This one does have a pop top. And I'm not going to Okay, so my camera did decide to take a dive off the tripod, and while I was getting it set back up, I inadvertently paused it and didn't start it. But what I've done since you've been gone is I've added the can of chicken. I did not drain that. I added it with the broth included. That's going to become part of the soup. And I also added the can of green enchilada sauce. Now, the brand of the enchilada sauce doesn't matter. You can use whatever brand you want. It's more the size of the can that's going to matter. This is a green enchilada sauce. I'm sure if you used a red, it would definitely change the taste of the soup. You just want to make sure that you have the right amount, the very large 28-ounce can. And if you can't find a can this large, you could certainly make it up with a few smaller cans. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the beans, the pinto beans and the black beans, and I am going to drain and rinse these before I add them. You probably don't have to. A lot of people include the bean liquid when they make chili. I have used it in my chili before sometimes, but in this case I just think I want to get rid of that liquid. It would add a little liquid to the soup, and it would also add a little bit of thickness, but I just want to drain and rinse these, especially the black beans. You can just see that the liquid is pretty dark and yucky looking, and I just don't want that in my soup. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse and drain these, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I've got my drained pinto beans right into the soup, and now my black beans are going in. Now you can see this is going to make a pretty good sized pot of soup. And then the final ingredient going in is going to be the diced green chilies. I do need a can opener for this one. I've been using this KitchenAid manual can opener. I finally broke down and bought a decent can opener. I have a bad habit of buying the cheapest Walmart can openers and just replacing them every few months, but we always have several of those around. But I had a lot of viewers recommend this KitchenAid can opener to me, so I broke down and bought this one, and I've been really liking it so far. And you can use any chilies that you want, mild, hot, medium, whatever you want. This one says that they're medium. These really don't have a lot of heat in them at all. Alright, so that is all of the ingredients that need to go in our soup. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a stir. This smells really, really good. You can see that it is nice and thick. Some of these chunks of chicken are pretty big. I'm not going to break those up right now because I have a feeling they'll break up as the soup cooks and heats, and I don't want to make them too small. So I am just going to go ahead and put this crock pot on low, and it's going to cook for a few hours, but you could just as easily have put this into a pot and put it on your emergency stove and get it going and just heat it up, and it would be done. The other thing you could do, sometimes when we're camping, we will use our Dutch oven with charcoal on the bottom and the top. And it's almost like a slow cooker that you can use without electricity, really. You just need charcoal. If you have the access to the outside to cook, if it's not the middle of the winter or the middle of a hurricane or something like that, that's another option for cooking this soup during an emergency. Okay, I'm going to get this going, and I will see you back here when it's all finished. Okay, so it's been a few hours in the crock pot, and our soup is done. It doesn't look a whole lot different than it did when it started, but it is piping hot, and it's ready to be served. Time to go ahead and serve the soup. We like to eat soups like this with a dollop of sour cream and some crushed Fritos. Okay guys, that's how easy it is to prepare this warm, hearty soup. I hope you'll try it and that your family likes it as much as mine did. We enjoyed it with the chips and sour cream. If you use a larger bag like this one, this is just a slightly larger version of the same bag that I used for this meal. I'll have links to both of these bags down in the description box, but you can use any bags that you find that work for you. But if you use a larger bag, you could include a bag of chips or some tortilla strips or whatever your family enjoys right in the bag. Some shelf-stable options for sour cream could be including some sour cream powder and a bottle of water to use mixing it up, a can of media crema, and a little bit of vinegar to make it into sour cream. I've used small vials of vinegar, or you could use vinegar packets. Or you could include something like this shelf-stable guacamole dip from Dollar Tree. It isn't exactly sour cream, but it gives a similar creamy, tangy vibe. You could also include some freeze-dried shredded cheddar cheese if that's something that your family enjoys. Just put it in a baggie or a small jar. And one thing that we do like to do is to keep these bags rotated out every 6 months or so. That way, if you have anything in them that has a little bit of a shorter shelf life, something like chips, for example, that's not going to last for years like the cans would, those are going to get used up so they don't go bad. I want to thank you for watching today. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, make sure you check in by hitting the like button and leave me a soup bowl emoji down in the comments. If you like videos like this, make sure you're subscribed and check out this playlist right up here that has lots of different ideas for meals like this. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.